Hello and welcome to Fun with Failures, the Neckbeard Experience. This is episode 3 of Subscriber Edition, which will wrap things up for this edition. But I'm going to continue the Neckbeard theme because next I'm going with Wolfbeard. So I hope to be able to get that out soon. But until then, I hope you enjoyed these 2 subscriber stories. And without further ado, let's get started. I'll start this story off with a bit of background. I haven't been really able to get on the internet until I got into high school. Because of this, I didn't know what a neckbeard was. I just started using the internet to share my art. And then, I didn't use Reddit. So I just thought the beard that I'll be talking about was a sexist jerk. Now the characters. Me, I'm a short skinny girl. I always dress in black, as my family consists of goth, horror movie, and rock metal lovers. Next, there's the star, Shortbeard. He didn't have a fedora, and I'm not certain if he watched anime, but he was a bit chubby, dirty looking, heavy into gaming, sexist, and as I mentioned before, he had a shoddy neckbeard. Then there's his 2 friends. I'll call them Jake and Matt. They were 2 skinny religious southern boys who weren't at all that bad, and they were the only reason I hung around Shortbeard. Lastly is another girl I'll call Mousy, because she had a thin nose, quiet and shy. The kicker? She was Shortbeard's girlfriend. I met Shortbeard and his group at the library of my school, where I always spent my lunch period. My previous 2 friends had graduated, and I lost contact with them, so I was feeling lonely at the time. I've always seen Shortbeard's group playing cards, particularly Pokemon. One day, I just decided to up and ask them.
Do you all mind if I join in?
There was an awkward moment, but it went over fine. Now, while I say I was friends with Matt and Jake, I was never friends with Shortbeard. He is still one of the few people I say I hated. I still do not know to this day how he and Mousy got together, or why they were together. He was such an openly sexist jerk, constantly. One thing he did a lot was use games to prove man's superiority to women. The grand example of this was when he had all of us play a minigame on a game that only he, Matt, and Jake played before. So of course, me and Mousy didn't do good. We weren't even allowed to see the rules before the game. He ended up saying something along the lines of,
"You're so stupid. Mousy, why do you have to be so retarded?"
There was a long moment of awkward silence. The guys stared at him. I glared at him lividly, while Mousy hung her head in shame. I excused myself early, because I was so furious. And back then, I was sick of Shortbeard's behavior. I shared a class with Matt and Jake after lunch, and they apologized saying, "We're so sorry about Shortbeard's behavior, he can be a bit of a jerk." Still fuming, I asked,
Why do you guys hang around that jerk?
He's a childhood friend with Jake. I don't really care for Shortbeard. Honestly, I'm just friends with Jake.
Another key feature of Shortbeard was his overinflated ego. He seemed to think he was an amazing edgelord for being disrespectful not only to the opposite sex, but authority in general. His trouble with authority always seemed to stem from his taking any moment to play video games. He was always bragging about how he would sneak time in class to play his DS. This, of course, meant he used his computer class to play online games. I don't know how he expected to get away with this, because all the computers were situated in a way that the teacher could see the screens. His female teacher got mad about his constant ignoring her, and kept reprimanding him. He just referred to her as a naggy witch. His second biggest arsehole move was leaving a lewd picture of her on MS Paint, calling her a witch. He left it on the screen as he left the class, as to make sure that she saw it. I and the others only found out about it after he returned from being suspended from school. He, of course, had gotten removed from the teacher's class. Shortbeard only bragged about it, claiming,
"Now I have class time to play more video games."
Jake asked, "Aren't you worried about how it'll look on your records?" Being an egotistical jerk, of course, he said,
"I'm way too smart for that class. I could be a programmer at a big game corporation, no problem."
His biggest and worst act was getting emancipated from his mother, because she kept cutting in on his video game time. Now, I don't know if he actually accomplished this, though he claimed to, but the fact that he bragged about this, and also saying,
My mom's a useless, stupid woman.
Was appalling all on its own. There's a bit of karma backfire at the end, because despite being supposedly smart, he had been held back a grade. Matt, Jake, and Mousy were all a grade higher than him, and graduated without him. This meant I had no further reason to associate with him. He was aware of this too, because I began to ignore him after this. The day before the others left, he tried to be nice to me by giving me tips on one of the latest Pokemon games. Tips I already knew about. I just said,
I know that already.
and left. That was the last time I ever talked to Shortbeard. After that, he was on his own every time I saw him. I don't know what happened with Mousy, but I hope she took the graduating as a chance to get away from him. Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Dee, female, 24 years old, and I'm from Mexico. My story happened in Mexico. This happened when I was in high school, when I was more naive. The neckbeard in question, I will call him Rat Boy, because that was actually his nickname, and that's what they would call people who had really toxic behavior while playing online games such as League of Legends. Niño Rata, Rat Boy. It's actually kind of a meme here. So, he was younger than he seemed, but still the classic neckbeard. He was blonde, fat, had hair everywhere, and a fedora that he used with his school uniform. He thought he was such a nice guy, and girls that didn't engage with his kinky, flirty talk, he would generally say stuff like,
You're just a hoe that don't deserve me.
So, in his eyes, I became one of them. We started as really good friends, but it didn't take long for me to see the red flags. I learned well. Every time I said a curse word, he would interrupt me and say,
Oh, no. You're a lady. You shouldn't talk like that.
That made me mad every time. Ugh. He was so surprised that,
A lady can appreciate anime and video games? You appreciate literature and actually have some good taste and intelligence?
I started to feel uncomfortable because I just wanted to talk about anime. But every time he was like,
Wow, you can actually understand what I'm saying. I'm so impressed.
ugh. He was so proud of his collection of gore videos and porn, he showed it to every girl he met. It was disgusting. One time he saw my drawings, and I said,
Oh, I'm an artist too. I get paid to color hentai comics, and then I have some line art of Pokemon too.
So he showed me his laptop, and, I saw the image's name, Pokemon Coloring Book for Kids, .jpg. I wanted to laugh so hard, but I just didn't want to hurt his feelings. So one day he finally confessed to me, in the worst possible way. He basically said,
You're not as hot as the other girls, but you are special and nerdy. So no one else is gonna appreciate you like I do. No one will love you besides me. So you have to accept that I'm the only option, and you can't deny your fate. It would be an honor for you to accept me, because I'm a nice and loyal guy.
and blah blah blah. I got so mad. I told him to leave me alone. He then proceeded to complain on Facebook saying,
All women are hoes. They always look for arseholes that treat them bad.
I wasn't dating other people at the time, but I just didn't want to go out with him. Before I even commented that, my friend told him, She didn't reject you because she's dating other dudes, but because you're garbage, man, just face it. He is the best. Sometimes life can throw you some unexpected curveballs that you can have to either catch or avoid as much as possible. And for this story, it was a non-stop battery of cringe and uncomfortable circumstances every time I associated with this person. I wish I can go back in time and slap myself silly for even talking to this person due to the crap he pulled, but then I wouldn't be able to share this lovely story. For the sake of privacy, and the fear that this person will try to find me again, I shall be giving everyone code names that tie into their overall personality at the time. It was during my second month of the first year of high school. I was very shy, and I loved to read books so much, and that's why I spent half of my time of my freshman year in the library. Because of this, I will call myself Fluttershy. Yes, I know that's a character from My Little Pony, but I was very shy around people. I didn't know until later, but it fits. Anyway, one day while I was going to return a book I just finished, I saw two people sitting at a table in the library. One of them was Sans. He was a sweet guy I met in my intro to ag class. He's a little heavy set, about 6 foot tall, and would later date my friend Toriel around our junior or senior year. The other person is the main reason I'm writing this. The neckbeard in training, Weasel. Weasel is considered one of the most likely people to shoot up a school. According to some people I asked about him, he had a whisker mustache and a beard. He wore this hoodie, with the hood up 90% of the time, no matter how hot it was, and it was always the same hoodie. And unlike your typical neckbeard, he was very skinny, mainly due to his high metabolism. But if it wasn't for that, he would definitely be heavy set. I say this with certainty because I see how much he ate. He also had a heavy stench of Axe body spray. While I was sitting down, he greeted both of us, and then he sat there in silence. I went back to my book. When Sans finally asked me a question, almost out of the blue, he said, "Do you want to go to the formal dance with me?" I've never been asked to a school dance before, and honestly, I hoped my first time would be more romantic. At least do something special, instead of treating me like one of the guys until you realize I'm a girl. So I immediately said,
No.
Sans was really good about it. He accepted my rejection. Yet somehow, this gave Weasel the thought that if I said no to Sans, I must say yes to him. So Weasel asked,
"How don't you dance with me?"
I immediately said,
No.
He gave me a kicked puppy look and begged.
Pretty please.
But I sternly said,
No.
Time passed, and he began hanging around me more and more. Then he caught on to something. Despite how shy I was, once I got used to a person and called them a friend, I would give them a hug. And he wanted hugs constantly, each time making them longer than the last, and squeezing the air out of my lungs. I would stop giving him hugs later, due to how uncomfortable he made me feel, and he would sigh pathetically and complain,
"You don't give me hugs anymore. All you do is give me excuses every time I ask for one."
He would go as far as fake depression for not getting a hug from me, and I kid you not, he would say,
"Your hugs give me the energy to get through the day."
It took a lot out of me not to cringe when he told me that. Now, time would pass, and he made himself comfortable beside me in the cafeteria later that year. At this table was me, Rebel, an underclassman with shoulder-length hair, and a love for flannel shirts. Kanea, another underclassman, who was my best buddy in band, and the sort of leader of our group. She was usually very outgoing and sweet. Ray, the amazing gal who helped me put up with Weasel's shenanigans, and Tony, the only other male who came to the table, and that Weasel saw as a threat, especially since he could outwit Weasel on a daily basis. Everyone was okay with Weasel, except for Tony, who would challenge Weasel anytime he felt like it, or when Weasel was being too annoying for his taste, and things sorta entered into a lull. Then Ray decided to mess with Weasel, grabbing one of his chips from a huge pile of food that he brought. As a joke, you may think that I'm joking about the pile of food, but there was so much food, the students working the snack bar had to get a small cardboard box to give him to carry the food to the table. Unfortunately, that joke would lead him to giving me food, since I played into it as well. But only once, and I apologized if it came off too mean. I only accepted the food due to my need for food. Since not having breakfast some mornings, or not having any lunch money, I stopped immediately when he wouldn't let me pay him back, and the uncomfortable stares that he would give me every time he gave me food. But no, it doesn't stop there. That's the tip of the iceberg. Weasel eventually told Sans,
"I'm gonna make a move on Fluttershy."
Sans was kind enough to warn me. "Hey Fluttershy, just a heads up. But Weasel seems to be crushing on you. I saw him drawing, and I asked him what he was drawing, and he said,
"It's a picture of Fluttershy. Give me a kiss on the cheek."
I was very embarrassed, and I felt sick that he was drawing stuff like that, especially since I was in no way attracted to him. It felt like an invasion of privacy. Lord knows if you do anything else. I shudder at the mere thought of it.
Thank you for telling me. I'll try my best to show I just want us to stay friends.
But that just made Weasel try harder. He would start poke wars with me, escalating to where he would jab me in the side, just because I would mew in protest. I couldn't help making the noise, and he found it,
so adorable.
And his jabs got lower and lower, until he was jabbing me in the lower hip, every day. I begged him,
Will you please stop that?
And even changed seating. But he persisted even when everyone else told him to stop. I didn't know what to do.
Mind your own
I wanted to
business.
tell the teacher, but the last time I told a teacher in middle school, due to a student becoming a stalker and harassing me, I was told off because he had a mental disability and he just really liked me. He came to me in tears, yelling at me for going to the teacher, when he was honestly scaring the living daylights out of me. Rebel was furious with Weasel and kept telling him to leave me alone, but he wouldn't listen. Ray was also mad at him. Kenya almost booted him out of the group. He apologized, and things settled down for a few days before he started doing it all over again. There was also a jingle he would love to sing for some reason,
I want you to make me a sandwich of love.
and I would always tell him,
No,
and,
please stop.
but he would sing it anyway. Ray was honestly the one that helped me deal with Weasel by distracting him with conversations and telling him to tone it down and that he was getting too creepy. She even told him off when he wrote
I love Fluttershy.
on one of his lunch cardboard boxes. I was a bit emotional at that time, and I shouted
Seriously!
when I saw it, and I stormed out of the cafeteria to the library. I didn't want to be around someone who couldn't take a hint. The only times Ray wasn't really able to help was when Weasel would spam my phone with photos every day, messaging with a very large stream of photos from DeviantArt, ranging from scenery to furries in compromising positions or couples he would suggest acted like we did. I wish I could say he wasn't my introduction to the furry community, since I generally don't have a problem with them. I think they're cute in their own way, and to each their own. He would even message me,
I hate my life. I'm so lonely and depressed.
and
I'll die alone with nobody to love me.
this didn't help with the fact that I had real depression, but I didn't broadcast it to get attention. This continued for 2 years until I couldn't take it anymore. Finally, I reached my breaking point dealing with his nonsense. I blocked him on my phone, and I avoided him like the plague. The worst part of this? That people were assuming that we were dating just because of the crap he pulled on me, and probably because he thought so in his deluded mind. I didn't see Weasel until graduation. After grabbing my diploma and trying to find my parents after the ceremony, he supposedly hunted me down since he was in the same year, and then he said,
Congratulations.
and then out of nowhere he picked me up by the waist and he spun me around saying,
I'm gonna miss you so much.
I am struck in shocked horror as he does this, but break out of shock when I see people. I silently begged them,
Help me.
but they didn't. They did nothing. I was furious that he touched me in that way without permission, and no one came to help me. I awkwardly said,
Have a good day.
and I stormed off, trying not to let him ruin the rest of my evening. Unfortunately, I would see him one more time in college. He tried to creep on me, but I wouldn't let him near me. Oh, before I forget, there was one other thing Weasel pulled. He tried to make me jealous with his boyish charms. He claimed,
Hey, I got a girlfriend.
and showed off legitimate pictures of the two of them together. None of us ever met her in person. He wouldn't even allow us to contact her. To be honest, it looked more like cousins who met for vacation one summer. I said,
I'm so happy for you.
when he saw that this didn't work, he didn't mention her until sophomore year. He showed me photos, but they were the same photos, literally. The exact same photos from the first time. I told him,
Those are the same pictures from last time.
and he gave me some lame excuse.
I have more, but I forgot to grab them.
Even Ray wasn't buying it.
Lame. This is lame.
Well, that's all I've got on Weasel. I hope you all were able to get through this story without cringing too hard.
Make me a sandwich of love.
If you enjoyed these stories, please leave a like and subscribe for more. All stories from Reddit and other external sites are linked in the description below. If you have any stories you'd like to share, you can send it to my email at funwithfailure@gmail.com. The link is in the description.